So, as we covered yesterday, Hasan got banned from Twitch for being funny. Sadly, he said a very funny comment once again, where he was responding to, I don't know who it was, is it? He was responding to, I don't remember the guy's name. It was some Republican congressman or something who was on the news. And basically what Hasan said is, in response to some Medicaid change, he said, if you really care... No, it wasn't Rick Scott. It's about Rick Scott. It wasn't Rick Scott he was responding to, though. Mike Johnson. Thank you. House Speaker. Mike Johnson. So, Mike Johnson was talking about Medicaid changes, or Medicaid cuts, and Hasan basically responds, if you really cared about Medicaid fraud, you would have deleted Rick Scott instead of electing him. That's roughly what Hasan said. It's not a call to violence, to be totally clear. That is not a call to violence. That is saying, if you actually cared about this issue, which you don't, you would have done this. But you obviously wouldn't have done that because you don't care about the issue like you're claiming. Responding to a Republican. Very obvious what he's saying. It's not a call to violence. If you're engaging in any way, honestly, you can tell it's not a call to violence or a threat. It is a statement about the fact it is calling out the other side for virtue signaling, basically. For pretending they care about an issue that they don't care about because their actions clearly display that. Or lack of actions. Thank you, Molly's Boy, for the 79. Molly's Boy 79 for the membership. Thank you. Fuck, I can't talk today. Jesus Christ. So, people saying it's a threat, people saying it's call to violence. I understand offhandedly calling it like a threat, like a violent statement, stuff like this. But it's not. If you're actually talking about what the statement is, it's actually not that at all. It's actually not that at all. And it's not even the worst thing he said. It's not the first time he said something like this. People bring up the makeshift gun example too, where Hasan, I believe it was Tom Cotton, Hasan quote tweeted Tom Cotton with a picture of the makeshift gun that killed Shinzo Abe. There's implication there. You can read whatever you want there. He also said Dan Crenshaw lost his eye because he got skull fucked by a brave Mujahideen soldier. And in that same stream, a long time ago, he also said America deserved a certain terrorist event in the early 2000s. I'm not going to play all those clips right now, but we are going to watch this video. Maybe we'll pull them up at some point. I've already seen a bit of this video. I'm reserving what I think about it. I did already see a bit of it, though. And look, guys. I'm Team Hasan right now. I feel like I should get my Hasan criticism out of the way first. Thank you for the $2, Dan. I thought I should get my Hasan criticism out of the way first. I think Hasan is kind of a dumb commie. I don't like the commie stuff very much. I'm a liberal capitalist guy, okay? That's me. That's me. So I don't like the commie stuff very much. I don't like the hiding his power level to try and get it in people's ear, you know? He's admitted to doing that. You know, basically pretending that he's just a sock dem. When actually, he's got much more extreme views. I also don't like the whole, what would you call it? Anti-Western hegemony, anti-American hegemony. Like, Dan, I'm just going to time you out for 24 hours again. That's all I'm going to do, because you'll keep giving money. I don't like the anti-Western hegemony stuff. I like Western hegemony. I think we're the best. I think we have the best, you know, morals, best values. I don't like other cultures very much. I think we should do what we can to try and influence and control as much of the world as possible. Because I think the values of freedom and democracy, sorry, it used to be we, it's not America anymore. Because I think the, you know, freedom and democracy, free speech, you know, individual rights, all that stuff's epic. I'm a huge fan of that stuff. I think everyone should have that. I'm not a huge fan of terrorism. Not a huge fan of terrorism generally. Most terrorism, I'm a pretty huge not fan. I'm a pretty big detractor of on the terrorism front. Most of it. And Hasan has had a Houthi on his stream. He's, you know, played propaganda videos and all this stuff. So I've got a lot of criticisms for Hasan. I think Hasan should probably, like, honestly, I thought there were laws about, like, aiding terrorism or, like, benefiting from terrorism in some way. I feel like Hasan should honestly get, like, a fucking fine or some shit like that. I don't know what, but in my ideal world, Hasan would suffer some genuine repercussion for basically just airing terrorist propaganda. However, with all that in mind, I actually have been mostly on Hasan's side with this drama. With this one specifically, I actually see what he was saying, and I you know, maybe Twitch should have banned him. You know, he got like a 24-hour ban that didn't even last a full day. Maybe they should ban him, but in terms of, like, you know, my position, I don't care that he said it. I think it's based. Don't care. The Houthis were only designated a terrorist organization today, but sure, but didn't he? They were already, like, pirates, and didn't he play some other propaganda video that wasn't Houthi? Hasn't he played, like, a Hezbollah propaganda video or something? I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. I'm pretty sure he played some, several pieces of terrorist propaganda. Was he one of the people who read the Bin Laden letter as well when that all happened? Anyway. You're playing the free speech position for an organization that doesn't believe it. Like, what organization? What are you talking about? I'm playing the free speech position for an organization that doesn't believe in it. I'm not... What am I playing for Twitch? What am I playing for Twitch? What? I said Twitch should probably ban him based on their policies. He probably should have gotten a ban based on Twitch's policies. That's what I said. How is that? Yeah, I know they don't believe in free speech. They're a private company that has certain restrictions on what you can and can't say on there, according to what they think will keep them good with advertising. Yeah, I know. What? What a useless addition to the conversation you've just made. Okay, let's carry on.
What's up, everyone? If you're seeing this, that means I've probably been banned. That's right. Cancel culture has finally come for me. Oh my God, it's over. It's over. The free speech warriors. Where are you now? They've taken me out, ladies and gentlemen. It's over. I'm done. A couple days ago, I had a conversation where I was responding to the Republican House of Representatives Speaker, and I said some things. Let's take a look at what I said.
Just go ahead, fair enough.
Libs of TikTok, of course, posted about it. Here is what Libs of TikTok claimed I was saying. Hasan Parker just called for violence against a sitting U.S. senator. If you cared about Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott at FBI. This got 17,000 likes. This was on February 28th. Let's take a look at this clip really quickly.
There's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid, just in fraud alone. No.
If you cared about Medicare fraud...
Fixed. Thank you for the $5, Calavetla. Did you have this locked and loaded like that CNN end of the world video? Okay. Yeah, but I don't know why my microphone just fucks up. I don't know if it's the USB or something. I have no idea.
Or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott. Okay?
Okay, let's run this back.
Scott,
I didn't hear
FBI.
it. My headphones came out with the microphone, so.
Hi. This got 17,000 likes. This was on February 28th. Let's take a look at this clip really quickly.
There's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid, just in fraud alone. No.
If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott. Okay? You wouldn't make Rick Scott, former governor of Florida, Rick Scott, you wouldn't make him a prominent part of the Republican Party. Now, that seems like a wild thing to say. Oh my God.
Chaya is so stupid, she might genuinely believe he was doing a call to violence. Dude, that's the other thing that's going on right now. The whole Epstein files and all this stuff, all the conspiracies they said they were going to expose, they were going to leak all the files and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, you get shit. You get nothing. They ain't telling you shit. Because Trump was involved in half the stuff.
God, is this person calling for the death of a U.S. senator? Of course not.
Yeah, Chaya's the
calling for the
lipstick
assassination
person.
of a U.S. senator. So I went back to figure out the context. Here it is. Let's take a look.
Are people who are covered by Medicaid now going to potentially lose Medicaid coverage as a result of this?
No, look, the White House has made a commitment. The president said over and over and over, we're not going to touch Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. We've made the same commitment. Now, that said, what we are going to do is go into those programs and carve out the fraud, waste, and abuse and find efficiencies. Couple of examples. You know, there's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid just in fraud alone. No.
That fraud is not coming from individuals. It's coming from providers. They're not tackling providers. They're not actually going after like false billing. They are trying to cut recipients. If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would Rick.
I saw Rita was saying as well, a bunch of was posting like excerpts from an article earlier. Apparently the Doge reporting about savings, they're like triple counting stuff. They're taking credit for the savings of contracts that actually expired 10 or 20 years ago. They're like just like deleting old contracts and shit. Like, it's so fucking crazy.
Scott, the reason why I'm saying if you cared about Medicare or Medicaid fraud,
40% was wiped off their savings yesterday, dude.
You would.
They have repeatedly misread millions as billions, dude.
Rick Scott is because, and not make him a prominent part of the Republican Party, is because he to this day is still known as committing the largest Medicare fraud in U.S. history. They want to cut SNAP. They want to cut Medicaid. They want to cut the funding of Medicaid. They want to make it harder for people to receive Medicaid. They don't want to actually go after medical providers or the insurance companies or the nursing homes that are lining their pockets with major donations. Those are the people who actually engage in the fraud. It's not your uncle that's like lying about their condition and stealing money from the government by, you know, going to the doctor or whatever. Okay, so obviously I shouldn't have used hyperbolic language, and there's definitely some ownership that I must take. Some apologies there. I should not have said Mike Johnson should kill Rick Scott. I should have simply said Mike Johnson should punish Rick Scott, perhaps with the, you know, maximum punishment, whatever that would be, for defrauding Medicare and Medicaid for over
maximum punishment under the law. I'm a big fan of phrasing like this. I think this person should get the maximum punishment under the law. I think you should use your free speech to the fullest extent against this person. Phrasing like this, I'm becoming a big fan of. Becoming a huge fan of saying stuff like, use your free speech to the fullest legal extent against this person. Stuff like that, becoming a huge fan of.
Now let's talk about the things that he did in this process, because Rick Scott co-founded the Columbia Hospital Corporation, which later merged to a corporation known as Columbia/HCA, which eventually became the nation's largest for-profit healthcare company. Rick Scott, who of course,
I'm not saying anyone should die. But if the death penalty would be the maximum punishment in that case...
Voldemort did a lot of things. The company defrauded
Medicare, that's the law.
Medicaid, and other federal programs. The U.S. Department of Justice won 14 felony convictions against the company, which was fined $1.7 billion in what was at the time the largest healthcare fraud settlement in United States history.
HCA was defrauded.
I would like to thank Careful's Destiny and Chenk's nephew for my transition to the Republican part. Nice. Spite-based politics. Wow, cool.
defrauding the government.
HCA admitted to things like submitting inflated bills and exaggerating diagnoses to increase Medicare reimbursements.
According to federal investigators, the hospital company systematically defrauded Medicare, Medicaid, and other federal healthcare programs while paying kickbacks to its physicians. Scott, of course, denied any wrongdoing.
Scott pled the fifth 75 times to avoid jail for Medicare fraud.
He didn't go to jail over this. He didn't even get any punishments over this. And Scott's resignation certainly was fantastic. For his pockets, he walked away with $10 million in severance pay, a 5-year consulting contract, and $300 million in stock and options. He is now the wealthiest member of the United States Senate. Rick Scott also in the past apologized, took ownership seemingly over his actions. But since then, in his endless interest in gutting all of these social safety nets so the American poor suffer more, Rick Scott has actually seemingly turned around and thinks that this was political prosecution, pure political prosecution against him.
No, I'm fed up. I watched what happened to me and my company.
Yeah, he's such a reptile. It's
I've
crazy.
talked to business people over the years, what's happened to them when you have political persecution.
What I was simply trying to say is Republicans don't care about the actual fraud that takes place in terms of government entitlements programs, in terms of government expenditure, because if they did, they obviously would punish Rick Scott. Rick Scott would not be a prominent fixture of the Republican Party. Rick Scott, who was elected as the governor of Florida after he committed the largest Medicare fraud in U.S. history at the time.
$73 million. That's the amount that we know about.
Yeah, I think Florida voters should do something about this guy.
Far that Scott and the Republican Party spent on TV advertising.
Rick Scott, who then went on to become the Florida senator.
On Sunday, a manual recount confirmed Republican Governor Rick Scott's victory over the incumbent Democrat Bill Nelson.
Once again, after doing insane amounts of Medicare fraud.
Elon Musk posted on X his support for Florida Senator Rick Scott for Senate Majority Leader.
This was...
What? Wait, but I thought Doge was going to go through and it was going to stop all the fraud and all the waste and everything. But he says that Rick Scott's awesome? Wait, but I thought Elon Musk was like based in Epic and going to save America. Wait.
Simply the point. But of course, Republicans want to avoid this point. Asmongold, for those of you who don't know, is a right-wing political commentator. He does have some centrist opinions every now and then. I believe he himself actually is a big advocate for healthcare, likes Bernie Sanders, but spends most of his time simply sitting around and reacting to Donald Trump. He is now officially, by my estimate.
I've seen a little bit of this part of the video, okay? I fully support Hasan in his maximal use of free speech against Asmongold. I think Hasan should utilize every free speech tool at his disposal to take Asmongold down, okay? Make this guy give some real fucking opinions. Make this guy start taking stances. I want to hear what he thinks.
A larger right-wing political commentator than even the likes of Ben Shapiro. Very successful in this field. His videos reacting to Donald Trump get millions of views, more so than the Daily Wire could ever dream of. Asmongold also is the largest political content creator on Twitch in general. He's the largest political streamer now. He's double my size. He's always been double my size, but he's now double my size when it comes to political commentary as well. So let's see what the largest free speech defender had to say. He actually voluntarily brings this up in a YouTube video called "What the Fuck is Twitch Doing?" The YouTube video is from 2 days ago with 1 million views. The first 13 minutes of it is just reacting to the latest Ethan Klein video, who is falsely smearing me as someone who doesn't care about Israeli civilians or whatever, which is obviously incorrect, but we'll get to that.
Well, I mean, the jury's out on that one, Hasan, okay?
With the libs of TikTok video to
I'm with you here, okay? Let's not push it too far.
For my banning.
Let me see if I can find it here. Like, I do... As I said, I do try to maintain a degree of neutrality with a lot of this stuff, and I try not to go too like super hard on it. I'll link you guys the video real quick before I get into it. And
he's linking the Ethan Klein video to his audience because, you know, to show support.
Yeah, there's the video. It's the Ethan video.
Perhaps this is the reason why Ethan Klein doesn't talk about Asmongold and his apologia for certain regimes of the past. You know, Ethan, who really cares about anti-Semitism, of course, that's why he constantly comes after me, someone he knows has a long track record, alongside him at times, attacking anti-Semites and explaining to people what famous dog whistles are.
We don't care. We don't care, buddy.
But that'll be for a different day.
Just because you attack one set of anti-Semites doesn't mean you're not also an anti-Semite in a different way, right? Like, you could be... Like, someone could, for instance... Like, let's try and put on a different type of bigotry. You could be... So... you could, for instance, be against... You could criticize people who oppose homosexuality on religious grounds. But then you could be like, you know, homophobic emotionally and be like, oh, gay shit's so fucking weird. You're so fucking weird if you're gay, you know, like that. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with like a TOS friendly homophobic comment that's just like about how disgusting, how wretched sodomy is, basically. But you know what I mean, right? You can be bigoted against a group on like one plane and criticize people who are bigoted against the group on like a different plane or like a different angle or whatever. So, while you could be a lefty who is against, like, Nazi-type anti-Semites, you might be a Palestine-type anti-Semite, you know? Very possible, totally possible.
Hey.
People are so ideologically captured, it's sad. I think a lot of people are. I saw this the other day, actually this morning. Where is it here? Here we go.
Hey, Dan Clancy. Time to wish Hasan another happy birthday song, you hack fuck. Anyone else will get permabanned on Twitch for this. This is beyond the pale. This is enticing your audience to kill a sitting senator. Don't people go to jail for this? This is not me enticing my audience to kill a sitting U.S. senator. That is ridiculous. Everybody knows that that is ridiculous. The people that are complaining about this know that that is ridiculous. But I'm glad that I was able to show you the context, the full context of what I was talking about. If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott, okay? You wouldn't make Rick Scott, former governor of Florida, Rick Scott, you wouldn't make him a prominent part.
So people crying about the fact that so much of this video is spent on Asmongold. But, like, I mean, what do you want him to say? He basically doubled down and defended the statement. Like, he's saying it wasn't a call to violence. To not get banned, I should have said maximum punishment under the law. But he's basically just said, yeah, I don't give a fuck you. What I said was based. And now he's saying everyone who's criticizing me is a loser hypocrite. The biggest political commentator on the internet is a total loser hypocrite. And he's criticizing me for bullshit reasons. Well, that's totally fine. That's totally fine to do in your response video. I'm sorry. People are bitching about the fact it's all about Asmongold. It should be all about Asmongold. Asmongold is the biggest political commentator online. If you think the biggest political commentator online is being a hypocrite and dishonest and criticizing you, then yeah, your response video probably should reflect that. I think that's totally fine. I don't see the problem there.
The Republican Party.
That is crazy.
Like, if he was trying to take accountability in some way in this video, this would be a bad thing to do, right? If this video was about, I'm so sorry, you know, I fucked up, sorry guys, it would be a bad thing to do, to make half the video about Asmongold. But it's not. It's not an I'm so sorry, guys. He's saying, yeah, I stand by it, basically. I stand by it, I just shouldn't have said it on Twitch. Yeah.
That is nuts. And I've said before, there's a statute of limitations, but apparently this was yesterday. Yeah, this happened yesterday, even. Oh my God. How's that not against the TOS? It is. And it is an open call to violence. And I would challenge anybody who thinks that it's not an open call to violence to say that exact thing about Donald Trump and then tell me if Secret Service shows up at your house or not.
Dude.
Really?
What a retarded take! What a retarded... You think Secret Service will show up at some random internet user's house if they say, if you truly cared about, I don't know, America, you would Donald Trump instead of electing him? You think Secret Service would show up at your house? You are fucking retarded. You are so fucking stupid to believe that. It's like the Chris the Narc tweet where he's like, oh, Hasan should be put on a list for this. Bro, it's in public. What's the list for? What are you watching? Like, a list would be to watch them, to watch their movements when you can't see them, right? It'd be to keep an eye on them, keep an extra amount of surveillance on them. The sort of list that Chris the Narc could be talking about is a follow list on Twitch. He's saying, wow, the FBI should really press the follow button on Hasan's Twitch channel so they can see everything he says on his public live stream to 30,000 people every day. Like, what are we talking about? What list? What list?
It's very obviously a call to violence. And Twitch doesn't do anything. Well, I don't know if they've really seen it or anybody's reported it or anything like that.
I think Asmongold is covering this because he wants Twitch.
They do, they have. They're arrested. They ask if he was serious. I don't believe that the statement Hasan made, if you converted it to Trump, would get Secret Service to your house. I do not believe that for a second. Maybe if there was other stuff going on that indicated you might have some intent or something, they would show up. But the statement Hasan made, very specifically, if you truly cared about X, you would kill person instead of electing them. I don't believe that. I don't believe that would get anyone. I don't believe that would get Secret Service to your house, FBI at your house, whatever. I don't think that would get any action, any investigation. I think that's totally... I'm sure they have shown up for less. But if you say that, generally, that's not nothing's going to happen. 90% of the time, nothing's going to happen. That's what I think.
Which to see it. He's done this a couple times in the past couple of weeks. I understand. We are...
yeah, exactly. By the same merit, there's way worse things said and nothing happens, right?
It's on Twitch. Asmongold and I disagree vehemently on a lot of...
No, even showing up. I understand there's a difference between showing up and arresting. I don't think they would even show up for that statement.
Issues all the way from the history of Nazi Germany down to the fact that immigrants are not actually contributing to the American crime rates in the way that the Republican administration presents it. They're not destroying our culture in the way that Asmongold approaches the subject matter. There's plenty of disagreements there, and I think that he's doing this deliberately, I will say, in an effort to, you know, shit stir a little bit and try to get me banned, which worked.
The clip's too short. Maybe it's out of context. I hope so. I definitely do. Hopefully it's out of context. How are you gonna...
Now, once he said this, does Asmongold go back and seek out the context? No, he doesn't. Instead, he follows through, basically packaging this as a Hasan is a radical who must be banned. It's a joke, Lamau, he responds to.
Would you tell that joke about Donald Trump?
I think people would tell way crazier jokes about Donald Trump. And people have told way crazier jokes about Donald Trump.
Just a totally unstoppable Hasan W in this video, unfortunately. I mean, a couple almost falters with the Israel stuff, but, you know. We got through it. We got through it.
It was hyperbolic. That much is obviously clear. But the intention of it was not a call to violence directly against a sitting senator, but instead was to show the hypocrisy of the Republican Party in terms of how little they truly care about Medicare and Medicaid fraud, because that happens at the point of the provider and not necessarily in the point of the recipients. They want to cut Medicare and Medicaid for the recipients to the tune of $800 billion. And in order to justify that, they will do everything in their power to lie and claim that it's actually your grandparents that are stealing from Medicare and not people like Rick Scott. Because people like Rick Scott either fund the Republican Party and oftentimes the Democratic Party as well, or they sometimes run for office as Republicans.
Rick Scott has won re-election to the United States Senate. Here are the numbers.
That's the point. Now, should the likes of Asmongold seek out further context? I think yes. I think when you have millions of people watching your videos, it would be nice to at least inform them of what the true context is. And now that this context...
Okay. Does Hasan go around doing corrections? I agree with the principle. Do I want to hear it from Hasan? I'm not sure.
Context exists. Will Asmongold watch this video? Will he go back and say, hey, my bad? Maybe. I'll be honest. Perhaps he will do that. We shall see.
Donald Trump didn't commit Medicare fraud, but yes, if he did, then yes. Okay, so then no.
He then follows up with another tweet of mine. This isn't Hasan's only first foray into political violence. This was the weapon used to assassinate Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Archive link and reply to his now deleted post. Well, I didn't delete it. Twitter forced me to delete this.
But I'll tell you this, it's not the first time. This is the second time. No joke. Yes, neither of these, by the way, have resulted in any sort of action from Twitch at all. Your Reddit advocated for killing too. Sorry for spam. Yeah, but here's the difference, right? When did my Reddit advocate for killing people? When did this happen? And also, when did I advocate for it?
He also then, to further push the narrative that I am a radical, a scary radical who advocates for violence, he shows this tweet.
If Hasan's statement about Rick Scott is calling for violence, then Asmongold is absolutely called for violence. Yeah, exactly. The Palestinian comment. He said, did he actually call for it in that instance? Or did he do the bullshit Destiny thing where he says, well, I wouldn't care if it happened? You know, I'm not saying it's justified. I just think that if you're that type of person, then I wouldn't care if it happens. He said they deserve it. I don't remember the wording. But I'm pretty sure if Hasan is calling for violence here, Asmongold was absolutely calling for violence there. So, yeah, he can't play... When have I ever called for violence? He can't play that game.
Killing too. Sorry for spam. Yeah, but here's the difference, right? When did my Reddit advocate for killing people? When did this happen? And also, when did I advocate for it?
He also then, to further push the narrative that I am a radical, a scary radical.
It wasn't the inferior culture part that was a problem. That wasn't the problem. It was for some people, obviously. But I will defend someone saying, you know, Islam is an inferior culture, whatever. I'll say, well, that's reductionist, but reductionist, reductive. But I understand the sentiment, and it's basically true. But Asmongold said basically civilian deaths were justified if it was an inferior culture. That's not. Reductionist is a word, but I mean reductive in that context.
Who advocates for violence. He shows this tweet briefly, my old tweet that Twitter actually forced me to ban, which is a tweet where I quote retweeted sitting U.S. Senator Tom Cotton, who was advocating to kill peaceful pro-Palestinian demonstrators all the way from April 16th, 2024, almost an entire year ago, where I famously quote retweeted the doohickey, or I guess a meme of a doohickey that was responsible for the assassination of Shinzo Abe. Now, of course, this wasn't serious. I fib. I did this in response to a sitting U.S. senator who had previously in the New York Times written about executing Black Lives Matter protesters by using the military. And this time around, April 15th, was encouraging people. I'm going to read you his words. Senator Tom Cotton said this: I encourage people.
So I don't know if I just missed this context when I last saw this stuff. I didn't realize what Hasan was responding to here. I think this is fine. I support Hasan. I think his response is fine. He didn't respond to that tweet. Was it not the quote tweet of this one? No, it was. You're totally wrong. You're wrong. You're totally wrong. He did respond to that tweet. You're totally wrong.
Using the military. And this time around, April 15th, was encouraging people. I'm going to read you his words. Senator Tom Cotton said this: I encourage people who get stuck.
Yeah, totally fine to respond the way Hasan did to this tweet. This is a politician calling for violence against peaceful protesters. Yeah, I'm totally fine with Hasan responding. Sorry, I'm sick of this shit where it's like the most lead-brained, worthless, fucking loser, degenerate Americans to steal an anti-Semitic phrase, which I'm not using in anti-Semitic context. They cry out as they strike you. They will do everything they can to virtue signal and hand wring endlessly to try and stop other people saying shit. And all it does is basically create a situation where people who actually give a fuck about like democracy and rule of law are just completely fucking raped. It's like the story of the last 8 years, basically. Not even 8 years, like 5 or so years. Trump shouldn't have been allowed to run. That's the reality. After Jan 6, Trump shouldn't have been allowed to run. But people refuse to use the tools at their hands in a democracy to safeguard that democracy, to fight for that and safeguard it. That is literally what happened. So you can't keep playing the fucking game where it's like one side engages in this, like, this is just straight up calling for violence. I encourage people who get stuck behind the pro-Hamas mobs blocking traffic, take matters into your own hands to get them out of the way. It's time to put an end to this nonsense. This is just saying run your car through them. This is saying run your car through them. That is the obvious implication here. Yeah, it is, Spinal. Yeah, it is.
Behind the pro-Hamas mobs blocking traffic. Take matters into your own hands to get them out of the way. It's time to put an end to this nonsense. This was, of course, a direct call to violence from a sitting senator. A direct call to violence against peaceful protesters.
What's wrong with that? Well, I'll explain what's wrong with that. It's totally fucking crazy that a senator is calling for violence against peaceful protesters in a liberal Western democracy. Hopefully that explains to you why that's so fucking crazy. Hopefully that's set in how fucking crazy it is.
Engaging in an act of civil disobedience.
Correct, Spinal. Correct. Yes, correct. You can join VC if you want to argue this point, but you're just, that is just true, yeah.
If something like this happened in Arkansas on a bridge there, let's just say I think there'd be a lot of very wet criminals that have been tossed overboard, not by law enforcement, but by the people whose road they're blocking.
So he then doubled down on it and said, we do things differently around these parts. I mean, he is. He's
That's incredible, retarded, and hypocritical. No, you're just fucking stupid, Spinal. You're illiterate. That's the problem. Hasan said, if you, Republican leader of the House, whatever it is, Mike Johnson, if you, Mike Johnson, care about Medicaid so much, you would delete Rick Scott instead of electing him. That's what he said, okay? If you cared, this is what you would have done. That's not a call to violence. That is a statement saying, these are the actions I think you would have done if your mental state was actually the way you say it is, but because you didn't do that thing, I'm determining that you're lying to me right now. That's what that statement means. That statement does not mean someone should go and do this. It's not what that statement means. It's just, if you are like literate and you can read and you can interpret a statement and you know the English language, that is pretty clear to you. You can see that. What Tom Scott did is he said, if you were in your car, or Tom Cotton, sorry, Rick Scott, Tom Cotton. What Tom Cotton said, that's not Spinal. You can't just say that's cope. You have to respond to the point. You have to explain why it's wrong. What Tom Cotton said was, if you are stuck behind protesters in traffic, peaceful protesters in traffic, you should take non-specific action to put an end to this. That is an implied call to violence. A call to implied violence, maybe, even. You're incorrect, Spinal BJ. It's wrong because one is a more explicit call to physically harm someone. No. One uses more explicit language of violence, but there isn't a call in Hasan's statement. There is a call in Tom Cotton's statement. There is an explicit call to action in Tom Cotton's statement. Hasan's statement, the meaning of it, is not a call to action.
A direct call for violence. I jokingly quote read
Spinal. You can cut off words around it to change the meaning of the statement. That doesn't make you right. If I say, don't kill this guy, is that a call to violence? If I say, don't kill this guy, is that a call to violence? But you're just quoting the kill this guy part. Do you see how that doesn't work, Spinal? You have to quote the full statement. He very clearly says, if you cared, you would have deleted this guy instead of electing him. That's what Hasan said. The meaning of that statement is not somebody should. The meaning of that statement is you're a liar. It's okay if you're completely illiterate, Spinal. Just say that. Just say you didn't graduate high school.
Tweeted that statement with the doohickey. But of course, that was apparently a bridge too far as well for Asmongold. I'm sorry. I've offended Asmongold's sensibilities. Of course, no comments on Tom Cotton, a sitting U.S. senator, actively urging his constituents to go out and...
Why are people pretending like the violent response to traffic blocks isn't always just pulling them out of their car, pulling them out of the road? Because it's not always pulling them out of the road. A lot of the time they run people over. That's happened. What do you mean?
Ill, peaceful demonstrators who are, dare I say...
Yeah, Spinal, I am actually smarter and totally right. That's why I can make a coherent argument and state my position, and you don't have a response. Yeah, I know.
Peacefully demonstrating against a genocide. Well, make no mistake, it's most likely that Asmongold is simply responding to the things that he sees in his chat. Having said that, I wanted you guys to see the full context of the story. I was obviously not asking for people to kill Rick Scott. I think that would be ridiculous. I think that justice should be served, however, and justice has not been served against Rick Scott in this case. Justice rarely ever gets served against rich people who exploit others, against rich people.
I have a response. You keep acting like it doesn't make sense when other people clearly understand what I'm saying. Nobody can see what you're saying, Spinal, because it just doesn't make sense. You repeatedly just say it's a call, and I am laying out to you. You just assert that it's a call, and I'm laying out to you exactly why the meaning of that statement is not a call to violence. Very clearly, what he's saying is, if Mike Johnson cared so much about this, he would have Rick Scott instead of electing. That's what he said. The meaning of that statement is not someone should go and this. That's not what's happening there. It's very clear what's being said. Mike Johnson is a liar. I know he's lying because he supports Rick Scott instead of doing something terrible to him.
People who defraud the federal government, you get a $10 million care package with $300 million in stock options for defrauding poor people that absolutely need this.
Yeah, Spinal, so you're saying it's that you baked into the sentence. So if any sentence that includes the phrase, kill this guy, is a call to violence. Is that what you're saying, Spinal? Because we just ran down this. If you say, don't kill this guy, that would change the meaning. Just like if you said, If Mike Johnson really cared about Medicaid, he would, this guy, instead of supporting him. Crazy, I know.
Medical care. And then Republicans will turn around and act like the real fraud is happening at the point of the recipients and not the point of the providers.
There's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid, just in fraud alone. No one's for that. We've got to make sure we eliminate it. We have the algorithms now to do that. We have advanced technology to find it.
Thank God for Speaker Johnson.
That is my anger. That is my frustration. And every single person, not Asmongold, but every single Republican operative online, from Tim Pool to Libs of TikTok to many others, know that that is the reality. But they also want you to be distracted. They don't want you to realize that this is what the Republicans are doing. So I urge all.
And now you're saying, see, now you've given up the argument completely, Span. You said they might as well be
progressives, or even people who are worried about.
And you're just lying in this as well. If you actually care about the problem, no, it's not saying it. It's not saying if you actually care about the problem. It's saying if this specific guy would actually cared about it, this is what he would have done. If this specific guy actually cared, his actions would be different. He's not saying someone should go and do it. That's not what's happening in the statement.
Their grandparents or their parents losing their health care, people who might be worried about their children no longer being able to receive Medicaid, to focus on who the vectors of harm truly are, what they're actually doing, instead of constantly engaging in petty squabbles. I shouldn't have used the term kill.
I didn't say his was a call to violence, actually. I didn't say his was a call to violence. I didn't say that. I said if Hasan's statement was, then Asman's was. I agree with Kuihman here, but Hasan's own chat was a call to violence, but I don't think someone's saying to kill someone. Yeah, schizo retards on the internet are going to interpret any statement where you say kill as a call to violence, like Spinal. Spinal, for instance, a schizo retard who interprets any statement that includes the phrase, the word kill, as a call to violence. Yeah, I know some people are going to think that, but I don't care about what the absolute lowest form of life, retard, conservative, moron, total drone who just reflexively supports shit because they hate the person involved thinks about it. I care what the statement actually means. If we actually look at the language of the statement, what does it mean?
Punishment in general. But once again, I've let you down. I've used hyperbolic language, and that hyperbolic language has brought trouble my way. As one of the largest progressive, leftist, political content creators online in what feels like is a sea of reactionary sentiment, I am promising you that I will try to use more deliberate and more careful language going forward. Having said that, of course, in an 8 to 10 hour broadcast, when I'm constantly in a contentious battle with members of the chat.
Trump did not make a specific call for his fans to storm the Capitol. No, he said, march down there and fight, right? March down there. I know you'll go peacefully, but fight. It wasn't an explicit call to storm the Capitol. He was inciting. He incited some kind of riot there, yeah, I think.
Because there's always free flow conversation and a lot of back and forth going on in the community, there will probably be some moments that are clippable, but I will try to minimize them to the best of my ability. On that note, I love you all, and I will see you when I'm unbanned.
Yeah. March down there, fight like hell or you'll lose your country. I know you'll go peacefully. All right, man. All right. Yeah, Spinal should storm the Discord VC, I think. So yeah, I'm on uncritical Hasan support on this one, honestly. Let's watch the other Hasan clips for completion.
Soft power is the exact same as hard power. Soft power, embassies, diplomacy, exact same thing as military bases. I can't do this. I can't do this. This guy has the understanding of foreign policy of like a 12-year-old. What the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with this dude? Didn't he go to war and like literally lose his eye because some mujahideen, a brave fucking soldier, fucked his eye hole with their dick? Isn't that how he lost his fucking dumbass eye? Because he got his fucking eye hole fucked?
So based.
By a brave soldier? Didn't he learn that there's a difference between like military bases and diplomacy?
We love Hasan here. We love Hasan here. I think this is actually made higher. I don't think this is legit. I saw another version of the clip yesterday and it was less high than that. Yeah, we're done agreeing with Hasan for the day. Okay, we're moving on. Is that Tectone thing on YouTube yet? Or do I have to go on Twitch? Oh yeah, here we go. More. So there was the lolly panel, the Twitch lolly panel yesterday, guys. This is huge stuff, okay? Tectone got Chibi Reviews, Dantes, and Nux Taku on a panel. Oh, I said, I did say he was already unbanned immediately.
Now, we've read enough...
he was banned. I did say that. What, did you want me to cover? He was seething about only be a single day. Wow. A single day. Incredible. Most people who are banned permanently have done less than Hasan. This website's bias is blatant. Who cares, man? Who fucking cares? Twitch is biased. Twitch is biased. It's 2025, bro. It's 2025, okay? We're still talking about this. Yes, platforms are biased. This is... Wait, sorry. This is not right. Hasan threatened to kill an elected official twice. He said nothing the fringe left can do that will result in consequences. Well, he didn't threaten to kill anyone. That's not. It's just not what happened. Like, even you can like try and make the cool argument. It's not a threat. Hasan makes a video crying everyone is shitting on him and him getting banned, and Twitch released him from timeout, the most mild slap on the wrist after 24 hours. His company and Dan Clancy are cooked. Hasan won. He got unbanned after a day for calling for the murder of a sitting US politician. I was banned for longer for having tomfoolery pee on my show because I forgot he was banned from Twitch. Make it make sense. No, I don't agree with any of these bans. Okay. But he didn't call for the murder. You wouldn't agree with the ban if he actually called for the murder of a sitting politician? What, see, Wick thinks that Hasan actually called for the murder of a sitting US politician, but doesn't think he should be banned from Twitch. Okay, retard. Twitch says telling people to kill a senator is a one-day suspension. See, Tim Pool's even smarter than most of these people. He did kind of tell someone to kill a senator. You could, or that's a stronger argument than call to violence. He did tell Mike Johnson that he should have, or what he would do if he cared, is kill a senator. So Tim Pool's actually... I thought we're smarter than most people on this. Pretty crazy. Smart on Spinal BJ, that's rough. 1 day banned for death threats. Twitch is a joke. Okay, GameStar. One day banned for calling for the death of a senator is insane. I've seen VTubers showing too much hips get banned for 2 weeks. Yeah, because they have child avatars. That's why, dude. I ain't gonna lie, this shit funny AF. Twitch is cooked. Anyways, Hasan, come on my podcast so we can talk about anime. Hate this guy. Oh, we don't need to look at this one, do we? We don't really need to look at this one, do we? Somehow they came up with a way to make it worse than just not banning him. You're truly a master of your craft and destroying companies' value at Dan Clancy. I wasn't familiar with your game, so I looked up your LinkedIn profile, and I'm fucking impressed. FTX. Okay, okay. Wait, is this for real? This isn't his LinkedIn, is it? Theranos? What? Oh, Enron as well, yeah. Dude, what? So it's just like, okay. Okay, it's just totally fake. Awesome. Just lie. W Dan. Dan Sultan 1. Just lie. And guys, look. If you want to be made to seethe even more, Hasan haters seething even more. Hasan once again proving he is one of the most effective. Sorry, let's say the most effective. Just because if this catches on, it will piss something else off. Remember, guys, Hasan is the most effective, should we say, liberal political advocate, activist online. The most effective Democrat political activist online. Rick Scott Medicare fraud case. Google search terms. Literally, the most spoken about it's been. Ever.